Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Curios here, and today we're going to go over a resin guide to help you utilize that resource. If that's not the first thing you're doing, at least spending some of your resin as you log into the game for the first time each day, you need to make sure you do that. Now, there's different activities you want to go after depending on what you're looking for and depending on the day. So we're just going to briefly touch on that, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and then how to use that resin appropriately since it is a limited resource. Oh, and quickly, please subscribe, like, and follow my social media down below. We are playing on Twitch 4 nights a week, so come check us out. We are playing Genshin Impact and a bunch of other games, so I look forward to answering your questions live there. But without further ado, let's kick off the video. All right, guys, briefly, we got to touch on what resin is and how you want to utilize it. So you can find the resin on your map. You just have to hit the M key, or if you're on mobile device, you just have to go to your map and stuff like that. In the top right corner, this is my right. That's not my right. Right's over here. I'm in reverse. In the top right corner, you will see the resin charge there. Now, you don't want to do what I'm doing right now. I logged in. I have 120 resin. That's really bad. You want to use some of it because you really want this timer to be going at all times. So if you plan it accordingly, you can do up to 180 resin a day. Now that's very hard for the average player, so you should pretty typically just assume you're going to use about 120. But if you are looking for that weekly in the battle pass, that's the only way you're going to be able to do it, is log on in the morning, blow through about 40 resin, log in the afternoon, do another 40, and then at night just finish it off. That's the one thing I don't like about these daily missions, the using 150 resin a day. That's requiring you to play 2 to 3 times a day, which you may not want to do. You may just want to do a big burst. So anyways, I digress about that one. Quick addition, I do suggest you save all your fragile essences. You're going to need them later on in the game anyway, so just utilize your resin as it refreshes and save all those premium resources. Okay, so the most important use of resin for the entire week are 2 bosses that you need to kill first. So regardless of what we talk about in the weapons coming up and we talk about the characters coming up, is we want to focus on taking down the wolf boss and at least Storm Terror's lair once a week to get that BP weekly. So you can find the Lupus Boris, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, right here. It gives you a good amount of adventures rank. You can see right here I have a cooldown, can only be done every 100 hours based on the refresh of the world, but has a chance to drop an insane amount of materials. And so you want to hit it whenever this is available. That's the first thing you want to hit. You want to hit this and get it back on cooldown. Now, the other thing you want to hit is Storm Terror's lair. Now, the reason you want to hit this as well is it is a weekly. In order to do this for your battle pass, it'll give you a burst amount of leveling up on the battle pass. Very good. It also drops a whole bunch of other things too and does scale. Now, I don't actually suggest farming Storm Terrors. It's 60 unless you have all your essential materials for both your weapons and for your character. It costs 60 resin, and I'm not sold on that's a good use of your materials, because you can pick up a lot of these other ones as well, like the Gladiator's finale and all this. If you're looking for more artifacts, you can pick them up off the other Animo world bosses as well at 40 resin. Now, there may be a higher chance here, so we'll disregard that until we actually know the numbers. And you have a chance to get weapons here too for crafting in order to refine your weapon. But refining weapons is not really needed till into the end game anyways. So just make sure that you're hitting both of those twice. As you can see, we can go down to our battle pass behind my fat head behind here. We can go up to our dailies and weeklies, and in our weeklies right there, one of them is to do the Storm Terrors domain challenge. So at least once a week, hit that up for this one. That's 675. That's almost a level. That's really good. My general suggestion to you is to focus on at least 2 characters and 2 weapons at the same time. So the reason that we want to do that is that when you level up 2 weapons, they're going to require different resources to ascend than your characters are going to require for resources to ascend. And a lot of the resources you can get to ascend your weapons only drop on certain days. Obviously, Sunday being the exception. And we'll touch on that here in just a second on how Sunday is actually the best day to just farm weapon ascension materials. So that being said, let's go ahead and look at a couple weapons that we have already prepped and ready to go. So you can level up your weapons via, different ways, and then you can get them to ascension level. Now, I've got a couple of weapons that are ready to get ascend. This is the free weapon that you get from being AR10 if you were part of the pre-enrollment, which is still a good weapon. But you can go make this weapon at the blacksmith, which is one of the better weapons in the game. Most of these resources are dropped in the world. So if you're just going and doing things, you can see like these are dropped from mages. These ones are dropped from skirmishers, and you'll get to know where a lot of these materials are. So the basic materials, it's just general exploration. The key ones are these ones that only drop from certain places on certain days in the domains. So there's 2 schools of thought here. One is you can go on Tuesday and Friday and pick these up, and you have a high probability of getting that resource. And that's a good way to do it. So if you have 2 different ascension materials you need, so for example, we need the elixir, and I think I need, let me just check here real quick. So I need 2 of the elixirs. So in this case, it would be good to farm on a Tuesday or a Friday and use a bulk of my resin to get those materials. Now, one thing I actually like to do is I like to use my resin on Sundays for just the domains. Now, yes, you have a chance to get what you don't need, but you have a chance to get everything, and you'll eventually need it. So what I like to do is I like to roll through to the domains on Sundays, which you can see drops literally everything. And you typically get anywhere between, as you ascend in the ranks and you do these at higher levels, you get 2, 3, 4, 5. I've seen even 6 materials drop off a single 20 resin entry. And now that you get 180 resin a day, that's going to be very good. All right, next up, we are going to touch up on the character resources here. So typically you want to be leveling 2 characters, like I said. We have 2 ready to go. We are working on our Jean, lucky me. We're also working on our Razor, which is also really good. One of the best 4 stars in the game. If you have Razor, we're also lucky. You can also get them from the shop by acquiring the Masterless resource and all that goodness. So looking at Jean, we can ascend here. And it requires fragments, which is dropped from the level 40 plus Animo Hypostasis, which is one of the world bosses. And we also need these hurricane seeds, which also drops from the same place. The other resources you can just get out in the world. So I would focus on the hard to get resources first. And let's touch on that. So we know on Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, we can't do the world bosses because we're working on our weapons. And the world boss we are looking for to ascend her is this one right here, the Animo Hypostasis. There's a few of these out in the world. There's 6 world bosses out in the world that are going to drop specific elements for your heroes. So leveling up Animo heroes is going to be pretty much this one right here. And it does scale up with world rank and all that goodness. You can see here's the hurricane seed. Here's different gemstones. We could take the slivers and make them into fragments, or it could drop fragments. It also has a chance to drop weapons and stuff of that too. You can find these scattered around the world. Here's the one for electricity. We have another one down here for fire, and they're kind of scattered all over the place. Here's water. I think we have geo over here, and I know I said 6. There's currently only 5 elements. Eventually, there will be a nature element. There are some heroes coming out for that. So on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, we want to focus on those. All right, so one thing I also want to touch on is ley lines. Pretty much the ley lines. There's two different ley lines. There's Blossom of Revelation and there's Blossom of Wealth. If you're before Adventure rank 20 and you don't have access to these world bosses and you don't really need to do the domains because you're not really leveling your materials up that quickly, I would suggest doing these. So these are the best. If you're before AR 20, keep that in mind. Do Blossom of Revelation. Just spam through it. It's going to get you a lot of materials. You can, if you do 180, what does that break down to? 5, 6, 7, 8. You can do this 9 times in a day. Technically, that gets you 900 adventure points, which in the beginning of the game is pretty huge for helping you out. And then it gets you anywhere between 5, so times it about 10, we'll round it. You get about 50 of these adventure experience ranks, which are really good. Now, once you have passed AR 20 and you have access to the world bosses and you have access to the domains and you're level 40, you're level 50, you're level 60, whatever, I highly suggest you don't do these ley lines. Now, Kyrios, a weekly, says I need to do the ley lines. Well, that's very good. So I do suggest you go do the ley lines to finish your weekly, but you don't have to spend the resin on the ley lines. So you can just go do the event. It'll count towards your weekly and just run away. Don't open the flower. That's all I suggest you do. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. So my final thoughts on resin is, unfortunately, I feel like the game does not give you enough resin. Obviously, resin is the way that they soft cap slow you down in this game. It's good, right? We need a way like that you can only get X amount of resources. But what I would have rather seen is that instead of having the resin, just make the materials harder to get, right? I know that sounds bad. So there's there's two sides of the coin here, right? If you can only play for like an hour, resin's actually really good because it gets you a lot of materials and you can log off and just leave. If you're the type of player that likes to play for 8 or 9 or 10 hours, and you're looking for things to do, that's where the other system comes into play, where it should just be harder to get. And maybe you could do a mix of both. If you use resin to go into a domain, you get more loot, and then when you run out of resin, maybe you could just continue to do it, and then the amount of loot you get is fractioned by, maybe you have a 10% shot of getting whatever you want. That at least allows me to spam through it and continue to do content. Now, I did break down the video. Hopefully that helped you guys out. I do appreciate you. Once again, please check me out on my twitch.tv channel, and I'll see you at the next video. Peace out.